Hey gang, Pete here. Now I just wanted to do a really quick video for you guys just to highlight a recent post that Tim Ferriss put on his blog over at 4hourblog.com. Now for those of you who are anywhere in the online space, you've probably heard or read or seen an interview with Tim at some point. He's had two best-selling books, The 4-Hour Workweek and the newly released 4-Hour Body, which I think are two must-reads. But what he's done is ability to actually get these books on New York Times bestseller lists has been primarily, or a large chunk has been through publicity, and publicity through blogs and things like that, but also real world media. And what he did about an hour or so ago is release a brand new blog post explaining some of his thoughts and tips on how to do PR. So what I wanted to do is just highlight some of the overview on the main things that I wanted us to mention and make sure you get, and then I encourage you to actually spend some time, about 10 minutes, jump over and read his blog post in its entirety. So basically a couple of things that Tim mentions here which is really worth noting, and something that I touched on in the first module of Going Analogue, and that is that you want to start small. Don't try and go for the Oprahs or the national syndicated TV show straight away. It's going to take some practice. You want to get your confidence up by doing some smaller radio and TV interviews, but you also need to build the confidence in you that the media must have. So by having some runs on the board with some smaller media outlets, it's a great way to build up that trust and expertise and that credibility when you go for the big hits. Another thing here under the first step, which is creating that reel that I just mentioned there, he talks about finding something controversial and timely to discuss. Now this is really, really important, and one of the first hooks that I mentioned in the first module of Going Analogue as well, talking about an angle or a story hook that is controversial. Now again, it's not about being rude or anything like that, it's just about having something that is worth talking about. You have an opinion that is different to the norm. It's that kind of controversy that gets a really good response rate from the media, whether it's radio, TV, or even newspaper. He goes on in the blog post to sort of really talk about and show you a lot of examples of how he built up that reel by starting small and getting big. The next thing he goes on to talk about is knowing your subject, in-depth talking points. These are the sound bites that you need to know, because it's the sound bites that are going to get you syndication. It's going to take that 30-second sound bite that you do in an interview and have that roll on in the news or future clips and stuff like that. And by doing your research and knowing your story, it's going to make you a better interviewee. Because again, by being a better interviewee, it means you give a better interview, obviously, which means you're going to have more chance of getting larger and more frequent stories in the future. So he really talks about knowing and understanding exactly what you want from the interview. What exactly you're trying to communicate and get from the interview. And there's three really cool questions that he actually suggests you ask yourself. And these are, why is what I'm doing different or controversial? Now obviously he's going for that angle of controversy or differency, which is not a bad way to go. Obviously in Going Analogue we talk about quite a few other ways and other hooks beyond the controversy angle, but that's one thing. If you're going to be controversial, be clear on your answer here. Why is what I'm doing different or controversial? The second question Tim suggests you look at is, why is it timely or important? Because remember, as we actually write the press release up, we want to give it a hook or a time hook. So you want to make sure it is timely, so they're going to actually run with the story straight away. You want to try and give an angle or a deadline to this because it is already on an ongoing story. Now actually, let me be a bit more clear about that, because it's really, really important, and it's something he mentioned earlier in the blog post. Because what Tim talks about as well is finding a story that you can jump on the bandwagon with. And that's where the controversy thing is quite easy to do. If there's a story being spoken about and highlighted in the media, can you have a different take on that? Can you jump on that story's bandwagon and do something different? And that's a great way to be timely as well. You can be controversial and timely because the media story is relevant and you've got a different take on it. And the third thing is, what are some actionable examples of counterintuitive findings? So what things can you actually give the audience to back up your controversial claim? And then finally, Tim goes on to talk about how to pitch properly. shows you some examples and some swipes of some of the emails that he sent when he was getting his media exposure. And he also highlights the way he sort of actually called up the media outlets and pitched them over the phone rather than doing a press release. So I thought I'd just give this to you guys straight away. I know we're sort of beyond this in the Going Analog course, but I thought it might be interesting for you guys to go back and read how someone is applying this right now in the real world. Alright guys, I'll see you soon. Hope you're enjoying Going Analog, and if you're watching this and aren't a member, head over to goinganalogue.com. You can register your interest, and next time we open up the program I'll let you know and you can jump on board. I'll speak to you guys soon.